Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome all of you to Sri Lanka Kuwait Chapter 5th CPD event, Devising a Winning Cybersecurity Strategy. We have members joining from Kuwait and Sri Lanka and as well as from all over the world. So it's with pleasure that I welcome all of you for this CPD event. If you are a CA member, I would like to invite you to type your CMM membership number and your name on the chat box, enabling you to get CPD credits. And if you have any questions, you can type it on Q&A sections while the meeting is on. To enlighten us on this topic, we have two great individuals from Kuwait who are both Sri Lankans. I'd like to introduce Mr. Mohamed Rushdhi. He is accredited in CISSP, Certified Information System Security Professional, CISA, Certified Information Systems Auditor, and CISM, Certified Information Security Manager. And we also have Mr. Indika Jayaweera, who holds a MSc in Information Security and also accredited in CISSP, CISA, and CEH, Certified Ethical Hacker, CTIA, Certified Threat Intelligence Analyst. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome these two great personalities to drive us through as to how to devising a winning cybersecurity strategy. Rushdhi and Indika, over to you.
Thank you, Indika, for the wonderful introduction. So here we are today. Here we are to talk about devising a winning cyber security strategy. As a consultant and a cybersecurity practitioner, I've been working across Middle East and Asia, advising on the cybersecurity programs and solutions over a decade. One of the important lessons that I have learned over the years, failure is not an option when it's come to cybersecurity. If failure is not an option when it's come to cybersecurity, then what is the strategy to win? How do we win as organizations? How do we win as individuals against cyber threats and cyber attacks? Before I answer that question, I understand that I'm talking to an audience of finance professionals. You do finance analysis and interpret and report, in a way, report data in a way that the management can take decisions on investments, whether it be expenses or whether it be budgeting, right? So you also do something called financial risk management. Let's talk about that. When you do financial risk management, when you have a list of risk identified, okay, for an investment purpose or whatever, it can be a development strategy for the business. You have identified financial risk, list of risk, right? When you want to treat these risks, is it possible for you to totally eliminate them? Is it 100% possible to reduce the risk to zero? It is not, right? So the same thing applies when it's come to cybersecurity. So no organization can be 100% protected from cyber threats and cyber attacks. If we cannot be 100% protected, then what is the strategy for winning here? That's exactly when we talk about cyber resilience. Cyber resilience is the winning strategy. Before I talk about what is cyber resilience, let me give you a simple story. Like, you know about Muhammad Ali, right? One of the greatest boxer in history. He once said, "You don't lose if you get knocked down. You lose if you stay down." So it was his ability to take a punch, withstand, and somehow, manage to avoid anything thrown at him, made him the greatest of all time. That's what you mean by resilience. For organizations, it is about being able to withstand and being able to perform your business operations, being able to deliver your products and services while there is a cyber attack, while there is a crisis, could be the winning strategy. This is what exactly we are going to talk about today. So before I go dig deep, we want to start this with a question. Tarun, if you don't mind, could you please start that poll? The question number 1. I'll give like 1 minute for everyone to answer this question. Is cybersecurity a top priority for your organization? If you're done with the polling, yes, can anyone tell me if you're done with the polling? Are we done with the polling, or is the polling still going on?
We are done, Rushdhi.
We are done, right? Done here. Okay. So this result can be seen by everyone, right? Very good. So now you can see 65% of the organization considers cybersecurity as top priority. But look at the other 35% of organization. And most probably, this is the audience that needs to, very well concentrate on this webinar. Let's stop this, and we will talk about these results in detail later. All right. Okay, let's get into the basics first. Let's try to understand what is cybersecurity. Now, as we all know that we are living in a digital era, whether it is, booking a ticket, ordering food online, for everything and anything, we depend on technology, right? We depend on technology, for everything and anything, literally. Even to send your kid to bed, make them eat, we all depend on technology. If you compare it with 1990s, we had like 3 million users connected to internet, right? Now we have around 5+ billion users connected to internet and using the cyberspace in their everyday, day-to-day life. What happens when you connect to the cyberspace, when you connect to the internet, right? So when you connect to the internet to obtain a service, whether it be, transferring money, using your online banking system, or it can be something like teleworking, or it can be something like, talking to your loved ones over the, over WhatsApp, over the phone, sending an emoji. Yeah? We all share data. When we connect, we all share data. We all generate data, and we share information, right? It can be a critical information like credit card information or your personal identity, or it can be non-critical information like sending an emotion like emoji. But we do share data, and we do share information over cyberspace. Right? So cybersecurity is about protecting these connected technology systems, data, and people from unauthorized use, damage, and attack. Because when you share this data over the cyberspace, there are people with malicious intent to, waiting for an opportunity to use this data for their own benefit. That's when you call unauthorized use. So this is why we need to, this is why cybersecurity has become extremely important, right? The technology dependency, as I told you, this has become the way of protecting our digital life now. This is the way of protecting our life now. And again, talk about the innovation. Innovation is taking a race from software-defined network to open banking. And now you talk about, generative AI. So this is the reason this cyberspace is keep increasing. As I told you, we have 5+ billion users connected to cyberspace, and we are going to add maybe another 1 million just within another 6 to 8 months. 1 billion. So the cyberspace is keep increasing, and that's the reason that we see the innovation is taking a race. And this, when we do these innovations, most of the time these technologies are not yet matured enough to tackle these malicious intended people waiting for an opportunity to take advantage. And this is something very important that I want you to talk about, is targeted attacks, or sometimes we call it advanced persistent threat, right? Think about a set of people or group of people get together targeting an entity. Maybe they will be well funded from government or organization, or maybe a wealthy investor. They will be funded, right? And they'll be having a budget like $5 million to work for 3 years with a proper strategy to target an entity. Maybe it can be a bank. I want to target this bank in Kuwait. I want to target in this bank in Dubai. I'm going to invest 5 million. I am going to get 50 million in 1 year. This is happening. This is why the cost of cybercrime is keep increasing. I'll give you a very good example for a targeted attack. If you have heard about Shamoon attack, that happened in Saudi Aramco, one of the leading oil supplier in the world, right? This attack wiped out like 30,000 computers of Saudi Aramco. Not just 1,000, not just 3,000, 30,000 computers. It just attacked, wiped out all these computers. It was not usable after that. So how this happened, if you go look at this very interesting attack, the attackers were able to breach the network even before 6 months before the attack. They were spreading the malicious content, this malicious file, all around the network to all the PCs, and waiting for just before the Eid day, when everyone was ready to go on vacation, just before the Eid day. The Eid comes after Ramadan. Just before that day, they started attacking. That is the reason they could not control it. That much well-planned attack was there. It was considered one of the biggest hack in history. It crippled Saudi Aramco literally for more than 2 weeks, and it took them like around 5 to 6 months to fully recover. This is the reason the cost of cybercrime is keep increasing. If you see the estimated cost of cybercrime, it was like around 6 billion in 2016, and it has already crossed 10 trillion US dollars by 2023, right? And it is estimated to hit 23 trillion US dollars by 2027. 23.84 trillion US dollars. This is, we are talking about the size of US economy. And see the cost of data breach. We don't see this trend is going down. It is keep increasing. It was at 3.62 US dollars in 2017, and it has increased to 4.45 US dollars in millions, even though we have much more advanced, sophisticated cybersecurity technology available. One of the reasons is that organizations did not realize cybersecurity is one of the critical component, right? And look at Middle East. Where do we stand in Middle East when it's come to cost of data breach? As I told you, it was average cost of data breach is like 4.45 million US dollars, and for Middle East it is 7.46 US dollars. It is way above average, and we can definitely see that Middle East is one of the one of the main attraction for cyber attackers. And Indika, if you don't mind, would you like? I would like to go and explain about the other impacts of cyber crimes other than the cost.
Thank you, Rushdhi. Thank you for taking an excellent approach to this discussion. And the statistics that you show is really an eye-opener. So I'd like to talk more about the impact of these cyber attacks. So the financial losses, financial impact that Rushdhi already talked about is really an eye-opener. And I'd like to talk more about the loss of your reputation when you have a cyber attack. You are begin to lose your reputation. So what happens here when you have your digital presence, you need to have the equivalent amount of digital trust as well. So the more organizations go with their latest mobile apps, they go with their latest websites, which is having the features for the customers can order services and products via online platforms. But what happens when a cyber attack hits, the customers begin to lose their confidence about your company. That particular company is maybe not doing very well in safeguarding my customer data, my data, because I have provided my card number, I have provided my personal information, mobile number, address, and everything. But that organization failed to secure my personal data. So I will not go ahead with this organization in future. So what happens then? Your future revenue is begin to lose, so that your financial forecast also will go wrong, right? So that's the kind of impact when it comes to the reputation. And also the business continuity aspect, and you will not perform as you have done before when you have a cyber attack, right? The organizations need to maximize their capacity when it comes to their services. That's why you are going with the digitalization of your solutions. The tools you are bringing to the environment, the cyberspace, is to increase your productivity, and you need to generate more revenue. But when you are under cyber attack, the area that you have not thought of is you are not in a position to cope with that. So maybe if you don't have a proper disaster recovery sites and the proper resiliency plans to face that attack and continue your business smoothly, if you don't have a plan, yes, you are in a danger. So think about these aspects when it comes to the cyber attacks. And the third element which I can think of is the legal liability. So most of the times, companies abide by a lot of regulations. If it's a financial company, could be abide by the Financial Act, and it could be central bank regulations. Today, we can see that almost all the central banks in the world come up with cybersecurity frameworks, which you need to implement in your infrastructure and your environment to protect customer data. And these regulations, it depends on the industry as well. If you are in the industry in which belongs to healthcare, so HIPAA Privacy Act comes to the picture. If you are in the industry that belongs to card data, so the PCI DSS standards come to the picture. So you need to be aligned with these standards. You need to be provide the infrastructure security in order to comply with these standards. If you found non-compliant, and if you found the data has been breached, the dark web or social media networks, there comes the fine, and you have a double effect that you need to rise up from that cyber attack, as well as you have to pay a certain amount of fine to these regulators. When it comes to the fine, it depends on the magnitude of the attack, the amount of card data being breached, for example. So based on that, there will be a calculated value you have never expected, you have never budgeted, and you have to pay this amount, and you have to suffer a lot of financial losses. So all these impacts are finally going towards financial impact, right? Because that's how the business works. So let's move to the what kind of attacks we are talking about. So I've been in this industry more than 5 years in Middle East. So I have seen a certain type of attacks are really persistent and really evolving, because this is not only in the Middle East region, all over the world, wherever the cyber attack most of the time starts with phishing or social engineering aspect, because nowadays organizations have controls to protect their infrastructure, but however, the human element is a little bit weak, because the human element is the easiest element to manipulate when it comes to the attacks. We call it humans are the weakest link in cybersecurity. So what happens here when it comes to phishing, I'd like to tell a story. So I'll tell a small story for this audience. There was a CEO which is on vacation in United States. The CEO belongs to so many companies, multinational companies in Kuwait. And meanwhile, he's in vacation, the accounts staff got an email. I'm in a great difficulty because I lost my mobile phone and my wallet. I think it's been stolen. And I'm in the hotel, and please send me some money to this account number, which belongs to the hotel manager, so that I can disperse that amount from him. So the account staff saw that email, and actually that email is received from the CEO's email address. So no doubt, accounts staff went ahead and paid that amount to the that particular account, credited. So later they found out that it's a typical phishing attempt, phishing attack, which is successful. What are the indicators here? The why accounts staff just fall into that, because the email received from CEO's email address, and CEO usually go on vacation in every October, so that it's okay to pay this amount. So that's how he thought. But actually what happens is this email is being spoofed, so that the attacker send an email exactly taking the CEO's email address, and that's a possibility of the technology at that time, so that that attack was successful. That's a small example of this kind of scams and attacks. And phishing and the social engineering is the one way of opening for bigger cyber attacks. When users click on the malicious link, they began to, they open the path for the attacker to download certain malware components, and it we call the drive-by delivery. So that particular malware component is having capability to download more modules of that particular virus or the malware, and then it starts spreading across the other networks, which we call lateral movement. So this is one of most important aspect that is why we are increasing the awareness for the users. Actually, the October, this particular month, is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So it's good that we have bring out this topic to discuss. So the next type of attacks which I can see is the ransomware attacks, very prevailing common attacks in Middle East region. So today we have ransomware attacks as a service. So if a competitor wants to bring down their service, they can easily purchase ransomware as a service. So it's a huge amount, but there's a guarantee that after evaluating, they will say that, okay, we can bring down to this particular organization network by encrypting the files. Recently, there was an attack in Kuwait. That's one of biggest hotel in Kuwait. This particular hotel had a ransomware attack, and most of the PCs, even the backup data, got encrypted, and they suffered a lot from this particular attack. And denial of DOS attacks, very common attack. I think Rushdie will show you some kind of a map that how these denial of service attacks are executing at the very moment, because there's a map called DDoS map. Rushdie, can you bring it up to the screen so that this particular DOS attack also provide as a service by attackers, cyber hackers. So they give a guarantee that that particular organization will, their services will go down for a certain period for 30 minutes. This much is the price. If you wish to purchase our, service, we will go ahead and bring down that particular company's web services, you name it. So this is it's like fireworks actually. So this is, you can see that global network traffic is executing denial of service attacks. So what happens here, the malformed web traffic send into each organizational's web server, the targeted web server. That particular web server will not be able to respond to this large number of queries coming from. So that it's like, think about the traffic jam. So no one will able to reach their destination. So that is how the cyber attack is actually a dark web industry today. So that if you are thinking that okay, you can survive without cyber resilience, I doubt it. Maybe you don't have the online presence at all, right? So the other type of attacks which I can think of, the credential theft and kind of compromise stolen devices. Sometimes attackers use these devices to get the data because of the digitalization and the remote working, which have increased in recent years. Every employee is usually getting a laptop. So when they lost that particular device, if going to an attacker's hand, he will definitely able to pull out that particular data which is belong to the corporation. So these are the common type of attacks which I have seen. I even remember that there was a DDoS attack in Kuwait payment gateway in 2018. I had 3 days sleepless time, and finally we managed to prevent that attack. And the lessons learned was the right call, that we have moved to a more productive and more effective DDoS attack solution provider, so that they were able to prevent that particular attacks. And as of today, there is no attack detected. So most of the time is solution based, which you can go and do a quote and purchase these kind of solutions to protect your organization. So in the next slide, we'd like to talk about the threats landscape in Middle East. If you take the Kuwait, for example, most of the times it's government organizations. Recently, Kuwait Finance Ministry had a cyber attack. It's not conclude that whether its customer data is breached or not. But anyway, the government organizations coming with a lot of cyber attacks in the news. So because government organizations do a lot of digitization today, so that could be one reason for those attacks being increased. And the activity of ransomware increased by 77%, and most of the times the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait are the most targeted countries, because these countries are oil-rich countries, so that attackers have their interest to these particular countries to bring down their services or plant a malware or do some ransomware attack. So I'd like to talk about cybersecurity functions. because our focus is towards how to create a winning cybersecurity strategy. So it's really important to understand what we are doing as cybersecurity professionals, except the one you already know, that we are sending cybersecurity awareness training materials to you, that you rush through the materials and click the submit button because maybe HR or compliance divisions come and chase you to complete that awareness training. But it's really important. If you go through those materials carefully, you will understand why we are asking and requesting to you to change your cyber behavior in your organization. So let's come back to the topic that as a cybersecurity professionals, we are responsible to maintain the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the organizations. So cybersecurity governance is one of important aspect when it comes to this cyber resilience, because the governance is the parts that steer the cybersecurity strategy towards to reach its goals. So as a governance team, it could be a small team or it could be a couple of executives, personnel, that they will define the cybersecurity strategy, and they will define certain policies, how we should maintain our data, how we should establish and enforce cybersecurity policies, standards, and guidelines. So these policies and procedures and guidelines, what are these? Basically, these policies and guidelines and the procedures talk about every aspect of the cybersecurity to protect your data, what kind of activities we have to do, what kind of controls we need to implement. So it's defined and laid down policies. We can enforce these policies to the organization's infrastructure, as well as to the human element, of course. For example, the password policy, you have to adhere to the password policy, which is defined by the organization. Maybe it could be a 14-character password with complex characters. So you maybe find some difficulty to maintain it, but this is for own good of the corporation, right? So that is about the governance and policy management, and then I'll move to the risk management, which is another function which we typically do. In risk management, it's really required to identify and assess cybersecurity risks. So we identify the crown jewels, most critical assets to our organization, and then we do a very methodical risk assessment, identifying the vulnerabilities and threats which can come from the cyberspace. And then we come up with the plan, the treatment plan, how we going to establish a security in the organization. Then once we have that risk treatment plan and identifying what kind of controls need to be implemented, we go ahead and get the management blessing and the budget allocation, and then we go and do the control implementation. The vulnerability management. So what's that? Vulnerability management. These infrastructures, the IT infrastructures as servers, networks, components, end user PCs. So all these components just have some kind of a weakness and bugs or misconfigurations, which attackers can exploit, and they can gain access to infrastructure or do some kind of a harm. So the vulnerability scan, there are tools available in the market, or there are open source tools as well. So we perform scans to these particular organizational infrastructure assets and give the remediation plan. So the IT teams, they go ahead and apply patches, or they do some workaround to mitigate that vulnerability. So this is a continuous exercise. It's not a one-time task. So it requires a lot of resources and effort to maintain the environment with minimum amount of vulnerabilities. The next one is about security operations. So one activity which we do as daily basis is security operations. So what is that about? these servers, applications, and the endpoints generate logs and generate some level of record about the activities happen in those computer systems. So we take all these logs into one place and analyze if there are any attacks are going on. So these tools are capable to identify if there are any kind of attack is going in the infrastructure. So we have a team, and it could be a managed security service provider sometimes, to understand what kind of activities are going in the organization, and if there are any kind of attack behavior or any kind of attack can happen in near future. So, and take precautionary actions also for one element. So we do about something about the brand monitoring, which we call monitoring your organization's digital presence. So what happens here? Organizations have their domain names, the chief officers in the organizations, right? So all these domains and the people is having their digital presence. It could be a social media, or it could be an IP address or domain address. So that we need to monitor these kind of assets, because there could be a scenario, or there could be a possibility that an attacker also can impersonate CEO or C-level executives, and they will probably reach out to your customers or partners and request certain information. It could be financial information, or it could be just making some reputational damage to your C-level executives. So the brand monitoring, what happens is they basically monitor these kind of activities in doing in cyberspace, so that we can go ahead and take down those kind of profiles, or we can take down those kind of domains. For example, www.marriott.com is the authentic domain. So the attacker also can create some similar domain with a little bit of tweak in the spelling, and they can host a malicious site that customers will fall into a trap, right? So ultimately what happens is your reputation will get damaged. So that's why we do brand monitoring as a cybersecurity function. The identity and access management is all about protecting your digital identity in the corporate space, so that the provisioning access, how you revoke access, and if you have certain access to the application, how we divide the segregation of duty, because there could be insider attacks also happen if one person is having access to all the modules of particular application, right? Think about a payment processing application. An easy way to create a payment is if someone is having access to all the modules. One more function which we carry out in daily basis is security compliance and auditing. Basically, the organizations come and they do their cybersecurity audits, and we help for those functions. It could be some risk function to belongs to the statutory audit, or it could be some compliance-related audits such as PCI DSS audits. And security awareness and training is one of important element which I already talked about. The network security and endpoint security is one element that which is really important when it comes to cybersecurity. Here, what we do, we define the certain level of controls. We apply those controls to the endpoints and the networks to detect the behavior of if there are any attacks, or detect if there are any kind of malware or virus presence in those devices. And the third-party security also very important aspect, because most of the times organizations go with third parties to provide certain services for them. For example, it could be IT support staff you will not have your own IT support staff. So you go and have an agreement with a third party, and they will come and do the particular IT support. But when you are managing this staff, you need to have certain level of controls. So how this staff is accessing, are we providing remote VPN access to them? Or is there any possibility that particular staff can do a malicious activity in our environment? So we perform certain risk assessment of this before we engage with the third party, and accordingly that we recommend this third party to go ahead. So the cloud security also one is important aspect, because cloud security is one of area that because most of the organizations hosting their services in cloud, so that cybersecurity also need to go into that level and implement controls in the cloud, same as which we have done in the infrastructure, the on-site infrastructure. And the lastly, I talk about the one of important function which we do, which we call secure by design, or as we call it, bake-in security. What does that mean? Basically, we come up with the security requirements at the very beginning of the project, not after developing some applications or developing some technology component. Security teams involved with security requirements at the very beginning, so that we can save cost, and requirements we can apply whatever the security requirements we can apply into that particular product or service. So saying that, I would like to invite Rushdhi to talk about how we're going to formulate a winning cybersecurity strategy. Rushdhi?
Yes, thank you, Indika. Thank you for giving an insight on what is happening around Middle East, and and how Middle East is tackling about this situation, and what are the cybersecurity functions. Mostly, most of these functions that we talked about is coming from the finance sectors, or telecommunication sectors, as we still understand that it is not fully, the potential of cybersecurity is not fully realized in the other sectors. Okay, now with whatever that we have discussed, whatever we have heard from Indika, let's try to see how we can lay out a winning cybersecurity strategy, right? A cyber resilience strategy in our organizations. Here I'm going to give you a 8-step approach, right? And the first thing would be to get the top management involved, right? I'm 100% sure that our executive management, our top management is very well aware about the cybersecurity requirements. They are concerned if their organization is protected from cyber threats and cyber attacks, right? But as we have done this poll in the beginning of the session, only 65% of us, our audience, said that cybersecurity is a top priority in their organization. What about the remaining 35%? I'll tell you. As I explained to you before, cybersecurity has become it is the way of protecting our life. This is a critical component in every organization's growth, security, and sustainability strategy. This has to be part of it. And you will have to talk to your senior management and make them understand and get them involved in cybersecurity business. You might be thinking that I'm a finance professional and this is not something related to me. No, cybersecurity is a collective responsibility, and this is related to everyone. This is what we are here to tell you, right? And the second step is about having a changed mindset. Everything is vulnerable. From the thinking that this is not applicable for me. Maybe we are fully protected, to a mindset like everything is vulnerable, anything is vulnerable. We as an organization vulnerable to cyber attacks. Uh, uh, it can be, it is like everything. I mean, people, process, technology. If you talk about the success of an organization depend on these three pillars, right? People, process, and technology. Similarly, the success of a cyber attack also depend on how well they manage to compromise any of these three pillars. So it is not only about technology. Cybersecurity role has changed over the time. If you talk about between 90s to 2000, it was about protecting the technology systems. But today it is not. It is not anymore. It is about it is about protecting our way of life. For example, the attack that I talked to you about, and even Indika has indicated, Saudi Aramco's attack, which compromised and crippled them for 2 weeks, compromising 30,000 endpoints. How these hackers actually got into the network. It was a phishing email with a link. It was an email with a link that one of the Saudi Aramco employee clicked. That's it. That's how they got into the network. So we need to work on our employees. And let's have a look at one of the other attack that happened in Equafix, I guess. Yeah, this is, maybe you heard about it. This is the Credit Information Bureau of United States, just like SINET in Kuwait, right? So this happened in 2017. Over 140 million records were stolen. Over 140 million records. We're talking about all financial data linking to the personals and individuals and the companies. And it costed them like around 1.97, I mean, almost around 2 billion US dollars. Immediately, the reason that I told you about this attack is immediately Equafix said, no, this is a, technology vulnerability was compromised. But in fact, US Congress released an investigation report that clearly indicates it was not a technology vulnerability. The root cause of the attack was their vulnerability management function was not working. It was not functioning. Indika talked about vulnerability management functions, right? Where we identify the holes, like if your lock is not working in your main door, right? A criminal can, thief can get in to break into your house like that. When there is a vulnerability, it has to be fixed proactively. This is what we call a vulnerability management process. So US Congress released that report and clearly indicate that that management was not functioning because there was nobody in charge of it. So we clearly understand to have a holistic approach towards cybersecurity, towards cyber resilience. We need to consider these three pillars: people, process, and technology. And then the third thing is expect the unexpected. What I mean by this, imagine that you're going to hear a news tomorrow saying some of your data is exposed in the dark web. Maybe something is, fake news is spreading in social media. How are you going to respond? Oh my God, let that not be my customer's credit card information. Let that not be my trade secret. You cannot go like that. So you need to have your incident response plans tested and working. Business continuity plans tested and working, right? Crisis management plans tested and working. Then only you know who is responsible to do what, right? Who will be talking to the media. You cannot let anybody in your organization talking to the media. What might happen if anybody talks, right? If CEO is going to talk and if he is not prepared, he might go and say, I know something is going on and we don't know what is going on. So this might really hit your reputation. and it would kill your reputation, and your customers would not trust you again. So you need to take an adversary mindset, and what the adversary really want from us, that might be the crown jewels, as indicated, right? The crown jewels in your organization, the things that you need to be protected. Take an adversary mindset, then only you will be ready to face this kind of situations, right? With this changed mindset, only you can go for strategize for resilience or strategize for winning. As we discussed by my colleague also, you'll have to conduct a risk assessment. This is the best approach, I would say, and identify where do you stand in terms of cybersecurity, in terms of cyber resilience in your organization, and set a vision where you want to be, maybe in 3 years, maybe in 5 years. I would suggest that you lay out a strategy for at least 5 years, because we are talking about organization change, right? It takes time. It is not just a one-off initiative. It is not just about sending one training and that you expect everyone to, act with a cyber mindset. This is a long-term process, right? So you need to have a proper, you need to identify the gaps and define specific and measurable goals with time constraint, right? I would say like running 5 trainings or running 3 simulations for incident response. This is okay kind of goal. But if you say, if you set a goal like we are going to make sure that our incident response plans are we will be, it is like we're going to make sure our incident response plans are 90%. We are confident with our 90% confident with our incident response plans within 1 year by doing 3 simulations. Then this is going to be a good one, a good goal. Okay, and you might have to think about hiring hire consultant, because I can see like around there are 3% of us audience replied that the cybersecurity is not even considered there. You can't think that you cannot be a target. You can be a target even though if you are a small company. So you might have to, if you don't want to recruit people and get run a unit for cybersecurity, maybe you can hire consulting company that can do this as a service for you, right? So these are the things. And remember to have a succession plan. This is very important, because we see a turnover rate for any CISO is like around 2 to 3 years. That you want to see this success, then this is something continuous. Maybe it will happen maybe after 5 years, and it has to be continuous, right? So you cannot go back to where you were just because your CISO left. So you need to plan for have a succession plan. This is one very important thing. And then we call for financial professionals, allocate adequate budget and resources. This is very important. Make sure the investment are distributed between technology, people, and as well as the process, right? To when I call a process, that you hire an auditor to make sure whatever process that you have established in your organization is really functioning, right? So you'll have to make sure that you invest in that area as well. And the 6th step is train for change. We know that we all conduct something called cybersecurity awareness training. Most of the time it is done just as one-time initiative, or it is done as it is just done for a compliance purpose. We really didn't dig deep enough to understand, why do we do these trainings? Why do we do these trainings? Is it to give people knowledge? One of the most expected outcome of any training is changed behavior. If your employee is clicking on a phishing link, malicious link, before the training and after the training, if he is bringing an unauthorized device to the network before the training and after the training, So what is the point of that training that you have done? So don't overlook the cultural factor. Okay, so the training is very important, and this changed behavior through this training is also has to be measured and tackled. And then any strategy need this component, continuous improvement. We have to have this measurable goal set, and we need to do analysis now and then to identify how effective our plan is being implemented, how effective the controls that we have been implemented, right? We need to identify the weaknesses. We need to identify our strength. Then we need to work on the strength and build. We need to work on our weakness and build on our strength. This is what you call continuous improvement. This is one of the important things. And guys, do not forget to celebrate success. Whenever you someone doing the right thing, whether it can be your IT employee or someone in the finance department or HR department doing the right thing, reporting about an incident or maybe a suspicious email, right? So do not forget to say thank you. Keep motivating them. Whenever that you achieve a success, like that, let's say that you have set a target that I want to see 50% of my employees uh, reporting a phishing email, or like within 6 months. When you achieve that target, celebrate it with the people. So that brings that kind of energy into your organization, that cybersecurity is a priority in this organization. Though that's how that you can keep going with cyber resilience. And with that, let me just have a look at talk to you regarding how the organizational structure works when it's come to cybersecurity, and what are the responsibilities, C-level executive responsibilities. As I talked to you before, this is one of the research done by ISU2. This is one of the popular institute for information security professionals. They've identified like 43% of CISOs, like chief information security officers, report to CEO, and there's 35% that they report to CIO, and 14% report to board of directors, right? And 7% they report to maybe compliance or chief operating officers or something. But it doesn't matter. But something that you need to realize here, you need to make sure there is no conflict of interest, right? So here, when I talk about 35% reporting to chief information officer, who is also responsible for implementing this information security when it's come to the technology security. If the information security, the people who needs to highlight, where do you stand as cybersecurity in the organization, they might hide this, under the table. So when there is an issue, so you need to ensure there is no conflict of interest. So the best thing that what we suggest based on our experience is the chief information security officer. Either he reports directly to the board, or he reports to someone who is not really implementing that technology controls. And with that, I would like to invite one more time Indika to talk more about what are the roles and responsibilities of finance professionals in building cyber resilience culture, so cyber resilience in your organization.
Thank you, Rushdhi, for explaining us how do we lay the stepping stone towards winning cybersecurity strategy. So as financial professionals, what could be your role? Most of the times, the resource allocations come to the picture, comes to my mind, because financial professionals are the people who actually allocate the budget in the organization. So allocating certain amount of budget and identifying the requirements of cybersecurity solutions is one key element that you can support. And doing the cost benefit analysis of these products and the amount you're going to spend and what kind of security you are getting, you can involve in this assessment with the CISO. So doing the risk assessment also one of critical element, as I previously explained. You can think of giving your fullest support for the risk assessments going in your environment, identifying what kind of critical data you are actually handling as a finance professionals. So the next element is the cyber insurance. This is not applicable to all the environment, I would say. But if you prefer to buy a cyber insurance, you are the best persons to talk in financial language, how much you have to invest and how much of return you will get as a cyber insurance, so that involving into this calculation would be really helpful for the C-level executives such as CISO or CEO. And the information security function in the financial operations is also some aspect we need to take care of, because most of the time financial organizations, the finance department is dealing with the sensitive data such as the invoice numbers and the customer data or the card numbers, for example. If you are doing the reconciliation in your finance department, most of the times maybe you will have some kind of experience, the dispute handling. So whenever your staff is working in your department where they are saving those critical confidential data, so you maybe know that what is the critical and what is confidential to your finance department. So you can definitely help to the guys who's doing the cybersecurity, informing that, okay, I have this particular assets, I have this particular sensitive data, and here, this is how we handle this, and you advise us how we should, handle this data going forward. So those are the elements which I can think. And allocating the budget, they're helping to allocate some kind of budget to the cybersecurity is one of important aspect which finance professionals can do in this requirement. So I remember that one time in my career, I was proposing one solution, but the CFO in the organization asked one question: Indika, how are you going to come up with some numbers? How I know that this expense I'm going to incur to this particular solution give me the return, right? When as a finance professionals, when you spend for something or invest for something, you are expecting some kind of a return. So how do we calculate that? How do we come up with some kind of formula for that? So that I thought of explaining the risk reduction formula. Rushdhi, can you go to the next slide? That will explain that also. Yeah. So the basically the ROI in cybersecurity is difficult to calculate, but still it could possible. So we need to think about risk reduction ROI here, because cybersecurity itself is not a profit or revenue generation department. It's a cost center, for example, actually. So when it comes to the cybersecurity solutions, if you are spending for certain solutions, there are a couple of areas which I can give that could be beneficial. So reducing the business risk. So of course, is reduce your business risk because it's preventing from the cyber attacks, and it will comply with the regulators and reducing ongoing costs, and it will help you to meet your business objectives. So the formula here is risk reduction ROI is basically it equals to the reduction in risk minus your cost of control and divided by your cost of control. So the reduction of risk, basically, if I take an example here, think about you are having your organization is having a DDoS attack 5 times per year, so you are going to look at some solution to prevent you of having DDoS attacks. So this particular solution will cost $25,000, but in a one attack you are losing 35,000. So 35,000 multiplied by 5 times, you are getting your annualized loss, and the reduction of risk is not going to be zero even after you're deploying the solution. There could be some possibility that the attack can happen. So I mentioned that it has 0.85% risk reduction, so that your ROI will be almost 5 times ROI, right? And you are having savings per year. In this example, is $123,750. So I actually, in my previous career, I explained this to one of my CFO, and actually she was not convinced. So then I just show her a picture. So Rushdhi, this is the picture which I showed to her. Yes, I think this was convincing her. So that picture words than 1,000 words, of course, that you would see that the financial executives or management, how they are allocating budget for cybersecurity function, and how they are spending money when an attack happens. So saying that, I would like to wind up this discussions, and we'll move to the questions and answer sessions. Rushdhi?
Thank you, Indika and Rushdhi, for taking us through. So there are a few questions that we have from participants. So I'd like to open it up. We have Saranga asking, what step do we take to ensure the security of mobile devices and remote work environment currently available?
Yes. The security of the mobile and portable devices is mainly depends on the user behavior as well as the solutions we are going to deploy. If you are talking about the solutions, yes, there are many solutions like your hard disk encryption and the antivirus and the EDR, which we call extended detection and response modules, as well as the DLP, which we call data leakage and prevention. These are technical solutions which you can deploy on those devices. But still, I would like to emphasize the requirement of having the proper user behavior, security in your mind when you are using these devices, because most of the times employees have lost their laptops. Sometimes they just let it open, and maybe your kid is using your laptop, right? And maybe when it comes to the mobile devices, which I can think of is the one of security tool is mobile device management solutions, which divide your corporate data from your personal data and apply the controls over it. And if it is the mobile is given by the organization, basically it can apply the full level of controls like hard disk encryption. But we need to carefully plan that particular solution. If it is a personal owned device and is the company is giving email access to that mobile, in that case, you have your protection for your personal data and your privacy, as well as the organization will have the protection over the corporate data. So that's how we divide it.
Thank you, Indika. And we have Rimsan asking, how does the role of AI evolve in cybersecurity?
Okay, let me answer this question. First we need to understand what is AI. Okay, for me, when I use it, this is about data. When a sales guy uses it, this is a buzzword. Okay, I'll tell you why. This AI term started in 1960s. This is called artificial intelligence. What is artificial intelligence? One of the professor in I don't remember the university, he initially put this word AI to explain if any machine any machine can provide any intelligence. That is artificial intelligence, right? So we were calling the calculators that was providing artificial intelligence. Now what has happened is, right, with too much data collected by, like if we talk about Google, if we talk about Facebook, okay, personal data. So now the cyber has a huge amount of data. Just applying a logic to this huge amount of the data, this can provide, these machines can provide lots of intelligence. So this is what we're talking about nowadays. So AI was there even from the beginning, but now this has evolved to a different level because of the amount of data that these people who are collecting has. Now, when you talk about the risk that we with AI and generative AI, now what we are trying to do is we are trying to automate everything using AI. For in cybersecurity, what happens is, as Indika talked about, we have a function called Security Operations Center, right? In Security Operations Center, what we do is we try to monitor any unauthorized access, any abnormal activities in the organization, and as a personnel, we check and we take action to remediate it. Now, what we're trying to do is, with all the data that we have from all around the world, this is we call threat intelligence. We are trying to automate these actions. So anything that goes wrong can be a catastrophe. This is what we can say. So, as I told you in my previous slides, also, this innovation are not yet matured. So we need to take a slow and steady step when we try to use these technologies so we can be protected from cybercrimes and attacks.
Thank you, Rushdhi. And we have many questions coming in, but with the interest of time, I will be taking 2 more questions only. And we have another interesting question. Can you please elaborate more on dark web and how an entity which is operating in small scale can mitigate the cyber threat with low cost?
Sorry, we didn't get the question.
Can we please elaborate more on dark web and how the entity which is operating in small scale can mitigate cyber threat with low cost?
Okay. Indika, you want to answer this question or you want me to answer this question?
I'd like to explain about the dark web. Dark web is something that, dark web is something that accessible to the attackers or anyone which is, we call that, have you seen that Tor browser? That something like onion with a kind of onion logo. So that these dark webs operate beyond the level of normal ISP internet traffic, but is connected. And when you have certain applications and tools to access the dark web, like Tor browsers, you can go to that particular website. It looks like how normal websites operates. You will see that card data for sale or certain malware activities for sale. For example, this DDoS as a service is not published or it's not available in the internet, which you can search and find it, but it's available in the darknet. This is how that message communication is encrypted, and you don't know which person is the end of that particular business, with whom you are chatting, so that they will particularly deal with Bitcoin or some cryptocurrencies. And this is the basically that dark web business that how they operate. So the ransomware, the DDoS attacks, or pornography, or you name it, it's everything beyond the normal internet surface is available in the darknet. So, but I would advise not to go and explore those things without having a proper cybersecurity knowledge. Maybe your laptop or your personal device also could get compromised.
And how could we mitigate the cyber threat?
Let me answer that question. And let me answer that question. In addition to what Indika said exactly, okay, the dark web is the web that you don't see as a normal user. When you a normal user, you will go and search in the Google, right? So when you search in Google, it will give you a filtered result. filtered result. It will not give you anything and everything in the internet. Internet is huge. We have like over I think 500 million content being uploaded to internet like every hour or something. So it is huge. So Google will give you only a filtered results, and there is unfiltered results. There are unauthorized activities that is happening that you cannot normally access. As Indika said, you can access through some special mechanisms using Tor or using VPNs. Now, as a small organization, how you can protect yourself from these kind of data being exposed in your dark web? This is what Indika was explaining about. One of the function that we have is brand and reputation monitoring, right? But in brand and reputation monitoring, what we do is, even as a small organization, you can go and talk to a vendor who provide these services as a SaaS or something. What we do is they scan the whole network, and I try to identify if there is any data on your brand. Like, let's say that your company is ABC. Is there anything, the confidential data in any of this internet available on your name? We will try to identify and we will try to take it down. This is how it is done. So if you are worried about if there is any of your organization data in the dark web, you can go and purchase this brand and reputation monitoring and treatment plans from a SaaS provider, and they would be able to help you.
Thank you, Rushdhi and Indika. And due to time limitations, we'll be making this as a final question. Ayub is asking, what is an vulnerability assessment? Will that be a very costly if it's a higher consultant? Will it be high costly if we hire a consultant for that?
No, it depends on the requirements which you need to assess. So let's say for an organization which is having a large number of assets in their infrastructure, like we call it web-based assets and the internal hosted servers and large number of computing devices, yes, that would be costly, and we are recommending to go for a commercial tool in that case. There are commercial tools available and they have the amount of license. Usually this license count comes as per one IP, and one IP is one particular amount. So that based on that, you can go for commercial tools. If you are focusing on the open source tool also, that also available, but in that case, you might require certain level of knowledge and technical capabilities to run those tools, because it's not very user-friendly as the tools which is commercially available.
Thank you. And with that, we'll have to wrap up this wonderful session. I'd like to thank Mr. Rushdhi Mohammed and Mr. Indika Jayaweera for enlightening us on the importance of cybersecurity and as to how to devise and great cybersecurity strategy. I have few announcements to make, especially for the CES of Kuwait chapter. We have few more CPD events coming up. We have a session on AI lined up for 27th of October, and another event on the theme of retirement planning and financial independence lined up for November 17th. One more important note is the very first ever magazine of CA Sri Lanka Kuwait chapter in the name of Hub will be coming up. I believe many of the email circulation was done today early. We do appreciate the support of all the members by means of sponsorships. So we will get in touch with you. So looking forward to have your support on that. So that brings us to the end of today's session. Once again, I'd like to appreciate and acknowledge the contribution put in by Rushdhi and Indika. Thank you very much, Rushdhi and Indika. And I'd like
Thank
to
you,
also
everyone. Thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you for the great enlightening us on that great topic, and special appreciation to Pasandu Karnataka on helping us with the Zoom setup. So thank you very much, all the participants, for joining us from Kuwait, from Sri Lanka, and from all over the world. I believe you gained what is given and the time spent worth of value. So signing off from Kuwait, it's Tarin Rajapaksha. Have a great evening. Take care. Stay safe.